around you that is safe and those that you love. Today's Sunday church, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Gita this morning. It spoke to me this morning, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about Margaret Mead. And I know those two things might not go together in your mind, but Margaret Mead was a fascinating woman. And if you've ever taken one of my teacher trainings, I talk about her in the teacher trainings because I think that she is a pivotal person that tried to understand humanity in its essence. So Margaret Mead was an anthropologist. If we don't know who Margaret Mead was, maybe that will be your Googling of the day. Margaret Mead was a woman in the 1918s, 1920s, in very early, times where women really weren't out there doing things. And she was an anthropologist of all things. Well, she would study cultures of people, indigenous cultures, and she came to realize that. And she coined this term attaching creatures. And so she says that human beings, she noted that if a tribe had a child and the mother would die, or if somebody had broken a leg in this tribe, there was no hospitals then, that person was taken care of. They were mended, the bone was mended, or if the child's mother passed, that child would have been taken care of by other people. And that kind of proved one of her theories as we are attaching creatures. That means we can't live without each other, and we take care of each other. And I think we forget that. I think we forget that with the attacking and everything that goes on in our day, right? A present day. We are attaching creatures. That means that our species cannot survive without taking care of one another as a community, as a sangha, regardless of what your ideology or belief system is. And so this is not new. This is who we are. We're a community of humanity. And that brought me, this is my stream of consciousness, right? That brought me to my readings this morning. And in the Gita, so it's really tempting to consider that our psychic conditions or our conditions now are just a modern thing, or just happens to us. It doesn't. So in the Gita, it's also talking about, centuries ago, these mental conflicts, these spiritual conflicts that we've had for so long, not understanding our humanity. So the cycle repeats itself until we finally realize, and maybe this time we'll get it right, that we could all get together and that we could work on common issues that need to be solved instead of attacking each other. So the Gita consists of a long dialogue between two men, Prince Arjuna and God Krishna. And it takes place on a battlefield just before the deadly fight between two sides of the same warring family. The conversation revolves around the conflict in Arjuna, a member of the warrior caste who leads one of the armies and who is torn about the prospect of killing his relatives and close friends. So Arjuna was born to be a warrior. And Arjuna is the one that was chosen to end the conflict. And here comes this big dilemma. Arjuna is in a state of spiritual war and peace, one of inner turmoil, and has no idea how to proceed. As the poem begins, the war is just about to begin, and Arjuna asks Krishna, who is acting as his chariot driver, to wheel him to the center of the battlefield to look at his enemies, who are also his kinsmen. Arjuna sinks down into despair, throws away his bow and arrow, and declares his unwillingness to fight. Whichever way Arjuna chooses, he loses. To fight is to kill those he loves and admires, while refusing to fight for a warrior is shameful. It is at this point that Krishna offers his advice. And Krishna is an avatar, or a personification of God. He who has come down to earth to offer his help in a time of crisis, a bit like Superman. And one of the passages in the Gita says, that the avatar, or he's talking about Ishvara, right, or God, or the thing. And it says, I am the spirit that dwells in the heart of all things. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all that lives. I appear to take birth through Maya, my own power of illusion. When righteousness is lost and evil prevails, I manifest on earth in bodily form. I come into being from age to age to protect the good, destroy the wicked, and establish righteousness. And so right here at this moment, Arjuna is chosen to do the right thing. He's chosen to stand up for people who have been oppressed for a very long time. He's been chosen to fight. The idea of God being available to help humanity in times of crisis is echoed in the Hebrew Bible when Yahweh assures Moses, when you need me, I will be there. And the belief in Jesus as an emissary from God fulfills the same idea. Krishna now marshals all the arguments why Arjuna must fight, no matter how much it hurts him to do so. Arjuna's conflict is not presented as a realistic war story, concerned with the moral dilemma of it and when violence is necessary, but as an allegory of the soul, a fight between Arjuna's internal force of darkness and light, the human and the divine, the higher and the lower desires, and how to resolve the conflict through yoga, through union. As we have seen, there are two forces in human life, one pulling us upward towards the spiritual growth and one dragging us down with the weight of past conditioning. Each one of us has the ability to choose a path in life to pursue, the selfish path leading to confusion and pain, or the unselfish path leading to wisdom and well-being. It is the choice, it is this choice that always faces us in every generation. How we respond to life's events, how we decide which path to pursue, determines not only our individual destiny, but that of a society as a whole. What is most surprising about the Gita is that we are presented with God in the form of Krishna, actually offering us advice about how to live. Although the advice here begins as a specific counsel for Arjuna in his dilemma, it soon becomes obvious that Krishna is talking about universal values and about life in general. Krishna's advice is meant for us as well as Arjuna. Whether we listen to it or take up his suggestions as a whole other matter, but it is not often that we are addressed directly by God. Since Krishna's spirit is taking on a material body, he is unable to act for Arjuna or for us. Instead, all-knowing, he gives us advice about how to best act in the world with the aim of resolving our conflicts and restoring health to our divided self. Because so many diverse personalities exist in the world, there's no one-size-fits-all yoga, but a variety of approaches are used to cover people's differing souls. And Krishna describes a triple yoga path of action, knowledge, and devotion that Arjuna can follow in his search for resolution of his mental turmoil. These paths are represented by karma, jnana, and bhakti yoga. Each of these practices appeal to different types of people, and although they are presented as separate individual, it is clear that there is a merging and interpenetration between all of them. There's a union, and none of them is standalone. Their ultimate aim is also the same, moksha, or freedom. or liberation from this false identification of self. So the first one that Krishna is talking to Arjuna about is karma yoga. And he says, listen, boy, get up and do your work. Get up and do what you're supposed to do. Get up and fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Get up. Because Arjuna doesn't want to fight. He's exhausted by this time. He's in despair. And he tells him, do your work, Arjuna. But don't go looking for any benefits from the results, and don't be motivated by the fruits of your actions, but you must never become inactive either. This teaching is quite radical because it tells us not to act in the world for ourselves, but selflessly for others. We must act, says Krishna. We have no choice. But if we act according to selfish desires, through attachment, we will not find peace. Do your work in the peace of yoga, free from selfish desires, not being moved by success or failure. Yoga is evenness of the mind, a peace that is always steady. Work done for reward is much lower than work done through the yoga of wisdom. Karma yoga is action in the world, something that we all understand because our survival forces us to act. But the fear of poverty and the pressures we feel to conform to a model of success lead almost to all of us to act contrary to Krishna's advice. We do act selfishly. We do worry about outcomes. We do expect rewards. And deep down, we suspect that Krishna is probably right, but we lack the courage to try to live up to this ideal. And the Gita is trying to tell you this. Now, there's also jnana and bhakti, but today I'm just going to talk about karma. It's telling you act, be courageous, get up and do your job. And when you do your job, you actually are helping all of humanity. And you know when you're doing your job and when you feel love in your heart and you don't feel hatred or divisiveness or anger. You know that. The truth will come out in the end, and the truth is what the truth is. It's unchangeable. We can't change it because we don't like what it says. Karma is saying to you, act accordingly. Know what the truth is, and then act and understand how can we help humanity without wanting anything for myself, selfishly. Because what I do to you, I do to myself. So if you haven't read the Gita, I suggest that you put it on your reading list. It really is, and I could go on. I know we don't have very much time, and it's a story. It's a very important story, and I have all my teacher trainers read the story. The Gita is teaching us about who we are, and the fight, or this moral fight that he has to fight. Arjuna has to fight. He's been oppressed for so long. He's been treated unjustly. All a plethora of people have been treated unjustly. And here's the opportunity to make it right. And it's not about violence. A lot of people, they turn it around and say the Gita is all about violence. It's not. The Gita is about the conflicts that you're having in your own mind. The conflicts that you have for acting correctly and doing the right thing. Remember, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, you must act without wanting, or claiming the fruits of your labor, doing it because it's a selfless act. But then again, you must not be inactive. That means don't do nothing. Action. Karma is the yoga of action. That means when I do an action, there will be a reaction. And wouldn't it be nice if the reaction was loving and kindness and putting everything back in its place, not disrupting things and blowing it up. We will be the cause of our own demise if we don't listen to these words over and over again. We need to have peace, love, and understanding. And we need to really help those who can't help themselves. So, yogis, we are attaching creatures and we can't live without one another or our species will expire. As Margaret Mead said. So, yogis, today's practice is a flow. And I do want you to find as much loving kindness for yourself throughout this practice and understand that we do go through conflicts and we do go through a lot of mental disturbances in our life, and that's a normal thing. But we have choices. We always have choices. So choose correctly. So yogis, if you need a bolster, a blanket, blocks, please go grab them. When you do, meet me in the middle of your mat and let's do a little bit of pranayama. So sit right up on those sits bones, yogis. And just arrive in this moment. And if we are going through some mental conflicts, understand, separate yourself from that for a moment. And I don't use that word lightly. And so what I mean by that is just observe your thoughts. They're just thoughts. And in reality, we're all here together in this one place. Just observe. And try as much as you can to lift the veil of Maya and open your whole existence up to that thing that will dissolve the Maya. And arrive here, yogis, in this beautiful, safe, peaceful place that you belong in, that there is no conflict, that everyone is healthy and happy and safe and sound. And we take care of each other and we don't fight. And even if we have a difference of opinion, respectfully we listen to each other. And we listen to the truth because those are God's words. Those are the thing's words. The truth. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice the in breath and the out breath coming through the nose, and start to cultivate that Ujjayi breath. And this breath will follow you throughout the whole flow today. And start to engage the pelvic floor, lift it up, and then squeeze the belly towards the midline, and then start to breathe on top of that as well. Subtly locking the pelvic floor and the lower belly. Relaxing the shoulders and creating space in between the vertebral bodies. Create an intention, whatever that is for you. Good, yogis. So if you're on a zabu or something, come off of it and just come onto your knees. If you need to sit on a block, or you need to put a blanket underneath your heels, do so. And just come into Virasana for a moment and take a moment here. So yogis, I'm going to take my hands on the side of me and I'm just going to find the breath and find this amplified breath, right? As my elbows soften and then I just find space in between the vertebrae. Now I'm not collapsing all the way down. I just want you to feel the oscillation of the spine. Lifting up in the pelvic floor, squeezing the belly, pressing the hips forward, knees together. Start to engage the muscles of the legs of the inner thighs. Inhale. Exhale. Do it again. Good. Interlace your fingers, yogis, and press your hands towards me. Squeeze knees together and down. Lift up in the pelvic floor and then lift the arms up overhead. And just reach up. Don't let the lower back arch too much. So your ears and your triceps are kind of like in the same line if possible. And just keep on reaching up. Lift up in the pelvic floor. Squeeze knees together. And let's go to the right, yogis. And just no depth right now. I just want you to feel this nice lateral movement of the spine. And then come up towards the midline, press up, create space, squeeze knees together and down, lift up in the pelvic floor, and let's go towards the left. And just feel that side bending. Inhale, come up, yogis, and take a breath. Place hands behind your head. Let the elbows open up and just drop your head back into your hands and just press your elbows back gently. And notice that slight back bend, lifting the upper back, right? But lifting the chest. So we know that the upper back doesn't bend. It's your neck and your lower spine that bend. But we want to find space in the thoracic spine. So take a breath. And then come back up towards the midline. Beautiful, yogis. Release the hands back down to the ground and take a moment. Good. Let's come onto all fours. Pressing hands into the floor, yogis, index finger and thumb. And let the belly drop and lift the head. Inhale. And then tuck the chin into the chest and round the spine on the exhale. And do that again. Let the belly drop, lift the head. Inhale. And then tuck the chin into the chest and round the spine on the exhale. One more time. And just to find some movement, yogis. Any movement you like. You can make figure eights. You can do anything you like. And we're also loading the wrists a little bit as we hinge forward and backwards, right? Good, yogis. Find all fours and then spin your hands around, finding this opening for the wrists. So tuck toes underneath you if that's possible for you, and start to sit back towards the heels. And then release that. So place the hands, fingertips towards the edges of your mat, and then lift up. We're going to protract the shoulder blades. Good. And then place the backs of the hands towards you and fingertips towards you and just make fists. Good. Tuck toes underneath you, yogis, and shake your hands out for a moment. Yeah? Good. Finding all fours, take a breath. Press index finger and thumb into the ground. Let's come into a down dog. Pressing index finger and thumb. Fingertips, right? Palms are in the ground. You want to really press the L shape of your index finger and thumb into the floor. Please don't roll towards the pinky. Engage the arms, engage the triceps, engage the forearms. You're wrapping the triceps around the humerus bone. And then you're lifting up the kneecaps by engaging the vastus medialis or the quadricep muscle, pressing heels towards the earth, engaging your legs, lifting up in the pelvic floor and squeezing the belly towards the midline. Take one more deep breath here, yogis. Open up your feet a teeny tiny, maybe about 6 inches apart. And then take your right hand to your left ankle and just look underneath the left shoulder. And then release that. Let's do the other side. Coming back towards the midline. If you need to bend the knees, yogis, please do that. So elevate the pose by lifting your heels. You might want to bring your feet a little closer in. Bend the knees for turbo dog. Let your belly melt into your quadriceps. And then lift your eye gaze and look in between your thumbs. And just take a moment. If this bothers your neck, just elongate the neck. And just take a breath here. Good. Now shift your weight forward and find a plank. And come back into that turbo dog. Shifting your weight to plank. Bend your knees to touch the earth. Lower yourself eccentrically down to your mat. And then find yourself on your belly. So your chin, your hands, your hips, your feet are on the ground. This time we're going to keep our hands, our hips, our feet onto the ground. Inhale, come up for a cobra. And then lower back down. And do that again. Inhale for cobra. Squeezing glutes and then lower back down. Then tuck your toes underneath you. We're only going to do 2 today. Pressing yourself back to child's pose. And notice the spine, yes? Notice the length. Notice how it feels as we shift back into this extended child's pose. So we're going to come into Chakravarkasana and we're just going to lift the eye gaze and press the sternum forward, pulling the heels of my hands back. The back extends a bit as I lift my eye gaze. And then as I come back, I lengthen the spine towards my heels, bending the elbows, and I flex my spine. Again. Lift the eye gaze, let the chest drop a little bit, lengthen the arms. We're going forward and then rounding or just lengthening the spine, really. You're going back to bend the elbows to find flexion. So we're going to do that one more time. Here we're going to find a bit of extension. And then as we go back, we're going to find this flexion. Bend the elbows and put your forehead on the ground. And take a breath. So that was nice, finding a little bit of mobility in the spine. We're going to come up onto all fours, and as soon as we do that, we're going to bring our right foot forward. And we're just going to hinge back and forth. Take one more breath, and then this time stay in that low lunge. Good, yogis, and take a breath. We're going to take that left hand down and just put the right hand on the right knee and just keep the right elbow up towards the ceiling and look up towards the sky. And then release that, yogis, and then do it again. Little dynamic moving. And then find yourself onto that right foot. We're going to find the right side lunge. Good morning, hip flexor. And then we're going to pivot to the left, finding Prasarita. Reaching your hands forward. Maybe putting your elbows on the ground. Rolling forward towards the balls of your feet, engaging your quadriceps. Really roll everything in towards the midline, yogis, and take a breath. Suck your belly into your spine and lift up in the pelvic floor. Take 2 more breaths. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Remember, you can bend the knees as much as you need to, yogis, or use blocks. We're going to pivot to the right again, bending that left knee, bringing that right leg back, coming into Chakravarkasana. Hinge back towards your heels, bending elbows, forehead to the ground. Reach yourself forward, finding extension. And tucking chin towards chest, rounding spine, bringing elbows down to the ground. Coming forward again. And coming back again. Good. And as this time, when we come up to all fours, my left foot is going to come forward. And then I'm going to hinge back and forth. This time I'm going to stay in this left side lunge, placing my right forearm on the ground and left hand to my left knee, elbow up to the ceiling. Take a moment. And then release that, yogis, and do that again. Yeah. This time we're going to step on that left foot, engage the back leg by lifting the kneecap and coming into a left side lunge. And then pivoting to the right, we're going to find this Prasarita. So this time, yogis, engage your hands, interlace them behind you. Use a strap if you need it. But don't let go of your quadriceps, right? Our quadriceps are lazy, or according to Catherine, our quadriceps are quitters, right? So you have to constantly think about engaging, lifting up in the kneecap, squeezing your hands together. And then gently release that without slingshotting. Come up halfway and then spin again to the left, finding that left side lunge. Bending the right knee, coming into all fours, and then pressing yourself back to your heels, bending elbows, forehead on the ground. Take a breath. Good. Now we should be nice and warm. We're going to come up into a down dog. Sweeping the right leg back for three-legged dog. It's internally rotated, yogis. Please don't open up the hip. Engage your quadriceps. So this is a lot of work, right? So all you need to do is swipe it right back in its own alignment, yogis. Elevate the pose and bring your knee to nose. Extend it back for three-legged dog. And then lower that down. So we're nice and aligned. Our bones are stacked on top of each other, yogis. There's nothing for you to do except to swipe the left leg right behind you. Don't move it. Don't change it. Just keep it right in its alignment. Take a breath. Elevate the pose by lifting the right heel, bringing left knee to nose. Extend that back for three-legged dog. Down dog. Elevate the pose, yogis, and bend the knees and find that turbo dog. Lengthen the legs and then lower the heels down. Sweep the right leg back behind you. Elevate the pose and bring right knee to nose. Lift your eye gaze, step on it, bend the left knee, place your hands on the right quadricep, and come into this low lunge. Grab the pointy parts of your elbows and lift your elbows up. Maybe elbows back as you lean forward. Bringing that left shoulder forward, yogis, taking a breath. Extending the right arm up, placing the left hand down. Tucking back toes underneath you, extend the back leg for the twist. Looking down at your right foot, frame it and come into Parsvottanasana. You might want to move that foot in a little bit. Flex the right foot in and roll everything towards the midline. And take a breath here. Good, roll towards the left. Yes, we're in that Prasarita again. And bend that right knee and flex the left foot. Come into Skandasana. Any Skandasana, yogis, you can keep your hands here. You can put your heel on the ground. You could reach forward, reach up, whatever you'd like to do. Bringing your hands back to the earth, reaching all 10 toes forward, lifting your eye gaze, taking a breath, turning to the right. And then sweep that right leg back for three-legged dog. Down dog. Sweep the left leg back, yogis. Elevate the pose and bring knee to nose. Look forward, step on it. Bend that right knee and come up into this low lunge. Square everything off. Yeah. Grab a hold of the pointy parts of the elbows. Lift up and let the pointy parts of your elbows go back if that's possible as you lean into the movement. Be mindful of your knees. Roll everything in towards the midline. Take a breath and then release that right hand down. Lift the left arm up. Tuck the back toes and find that lunge twist. Lift up in the belly, yogis. Look down to the ground and we're going to turn towards that right foot. We're going to bend the left knee and flex the right foot and come into a Skandasana of your choice. Looking down at the ground, lifting your hips up, yogis, and then pivoting back to left side lunge. Sweeping that left leg back, finding a three-legged dog. Down dog. And breathe here, yogis. Shift your weight forward. Lift your eye gaze. Touch your knees to the ground. Lower down in one piece and find your cobra. And then lower down. Excuse me. And then press yourself back through child's pose and lift up from down dog. Right leg sweeps back. Elevate the pose. Bring knee to nose. Look forward, step on it, bend the left knee. Come all the way up into this Anjaneyasana. Lift elbows up, back, and you lean forward into it a bit. Drop the left hand down, reach the right arm up, and lift up. And take a breath. Now this time we're going to add that Parsvottanasana. So flex the right foot and take a breath. Breathe, yogis. Now bend that right knee, yogis. We're going to do some flips here. So we're just going to switch your feet. Left, and we're going to go to the right, right, and we're going to stay on to the left, left, and hold it. Bend that right knee. Come up. Find Anjane. Lift up and then press hands or elbows back as you lean into it. Dropping hands down, finding that twisted lunge. Take a breath. Look down at the ground. Maybe bring that back foot in a little bit. Flex the front foot. Find Parsva. Tanasana. So this is a variation of it, yogis. Roll everything in towards the midline. And then place that left foot down on the ground. Find your left side lunge. We're going to do some switch hops or switch lunges, right? So we have left foot forward. Now our right foot's going to come forward. Left foot's going to come forward. Right foot's going to come forward. And we're going to meet ourselves at the front of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And breathe. So we're in Uttanasana at the front of the mat. So yogis, bend the knees and keep your belly on your quads. So sit down into the tip of the chair as you reach the arms behind you. Utkatasana. Lift the heels up, yogis. Good, and then lower the hands down, lower the heels down. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, walk back into your plank. Shift your weight forward, bend the knees and lower yourself down. Inhale for cobra. Exhale, lower, come into your down dog. Spin the left foot to the left as you step the right foot in between your hands. Your heels are in line with each other. And hands come up over your head for warrior one. Open out for warrior two. Straighten that front leg and come into your triangle as you reach to the right. Now hand could go on your shin, on the floor, wherever you need it to be, but don't dump into that right side. Your drishti could be your hand or your foot, using the sternocleidomastoid muscles to rotate the head. Engage your quadriceps, suck your belly in, take a breath. Good. Breathe, yogis. Press feet down. Inhale, come up. Keep your legs straight as we reverse this triangle. And then windmill your arms down towards the ground, finding your high plank. Bend the knees or come into chaturanga if you'd like. Come to the top of the push-up into a down dog. Right foot spins, left foot steps in between your hands, finding warrior one. Opening up to warrior two. Moving your head, yogi. So you want to really use the neck muscles and reach your arms up without tensing the shoulders and breathe. Straighten the leg and come into your triangle. Left side triangle. Your arms are in one line, yogi, so don't break the glass by pressing the hand back. Lift up, directly up out of the shoulder. Engage your legs. If you can, look up. If not, look down. Just take a breath. Press feet down. Inhale, come up, and then reverse that triangle. And then windmill the arms down, yogis, into your vinyasa of choice. And breathe. Right leg sweeps the sky, yogis. Elevate the pose, bring knee to nose. Step on it, bend the left knee. Come up, yogis, into this low lunge. Arms up over the head. Grab the pointy parts of the elbows. Lift the hands up, elbows up, arms back, and then lean into it. Take a breath. Let the left hand go, right arm up, tuck the back toes, and come into a lunge twist. Look down at the ground, yogis. Come into Parsvattanasana. Good, yogis. Take a breath. Come into that right side lunge and hop switch. Hop switch. Hop switch. Bend the right knee. Come up into this low lunge. Arms up over your head. Finding Anjane. Drop that right hand down, lift the left arm up, tuck the back toes under, extend the back leg, finding that twisted lunge. Lower that left hand down, finding your Parsvattanasana. Bending that left knee, yogis, we're going to do some hop switch. Right, left, right, step forward, bend the knees and reach the hands behind you. Lifting the heels up, finding Utkatasana. Folding forward, inhale, half lift, vinyasa. Spinning the left foot to the left, step your right foot in between your hands, finding warrior one. Open up to warrior two. Straighten that front leg and then reach your arms to the right, yogis, finding your triangle. Bringing that right side of the rib cage forward, taking another breath. Take a breath here, yogis. Look down at the ground. Bend the right knee and come into warrior two. Bringing hands to hips, turn all 10 toes towards the left. Inhale here for that prasarita that we've been doing since the beginning of class. Inhale, half lift. And take a breath here, yogis, as you spin to the right. And then you're going to sweep that right leg back into a three-legged dog. Down dog. Right foot spins, left foot steps in between your hands, finding warrior one. Open up for warrior two. Straighten the front leg and reach to the left as we fold into this triangle. Bending the knee, coming into that warrior two. Hands to your hips, all 10 toes facing the right side. Inhale here. Exhale, hinge at the hips, yogis. Grab your big toes for this one. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Engage your quads. And then release the bind. Inhale, half lift. And then turn to the left, finding that left side lunge, sweeping that leg back for three-legged dog. Finding your down dog. Breathe here, yogis. So elevate the pose and bend the knees. And let's come to a seat on our mat. Extending the legs forward, yogis, and take a breath. So I'm going to face you, but you can face the front of your mat. So we're just going to bring that, we'll come into Dandasana first, So find the sits bones, hands right by your hips. Engage your quads, dig your heels into the ground. Lift the chest up so it chases the chin, and the chin is also chasing the chest. We want to lift up in the pelvic floor and squeeze the belly towards the midline and find a nice long spine. And then release that. We're going to take the right foot inside the left thigh and come into Janu Shirshasana. So squeeze that right glute, engage this right foot, and then reach and hinge forward from the hip. Inhale, exhale, fold. Try to find length in between the atlas and the AO, right? Right in between your atlas and your axis. And then release that. Find Dandasana again. And then release that, placing left foot inside, right? So we don't have to turn very much, we're right there. So I want you to squeeze the left glute, press the left foot in if it's possible for you. Engage the right quad, hinge at the hip, and grab your foot. If you need a strap, grab it. Lengthen the spine, bend the knee if you need to, and then reach forward. If you need to sit on blocks, do that. You know what to do, yogis, do it. Do the right thing. Reach your heart forward. And then release that and take a breath. Come into that Dandasana. And so yogis, try to feel this renutation of the sacrum when we're in Dandasana. It's kind of like fixing some sacral derangement, right? So if I press my hands down and I find space by lifting up in the pelvic floor and squeezing the belly towards the midline, and I'm lifting the chest and tucking chin and engaging quads, all of that is really helping the sacrum go into that nutated or nice longer position than when it's tilted upward or downward, when it doesn't like that very much. So find space. And then release that. Bring the soles of your feet together, yogis, coming into Baddha Konasana. So basket grip your hands and lengthen, bringing the heels up in towards the groin. And so I just want you to feel the inner thighs for a moment. Just lengthen. If you want to hinge a little bit, hinge. And then release that, yogis. So bring knees together gently. And we're going to lie back on our spines. Bringing knees into the chest. Grabbing your right knee and your left knee. Right, exhale, pull. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, pull. Inhale, release that. Do that again. Good. Grab a hold of the outsides of your feet. Let's find happy baby. Pulling the knees down on the outsides of your rib cage. Yogis, if you want to take another inversion, please do so. If you have it in your practice and you are safe to do it. We're going to take 2 more deep breaths here. Yogis, if you're in an inversion, just take your time. Those yogis that are with me and happy baby, just release the outsides of the feet and bring your knees in towards the chest. Extend the left leg out towards the edge of your mat, or to the back, or the bottom of your mat, I should say. And then just pull that right knee in towards the chest, and then open up the chest, open up the knee, and then pull up again towards the armpit or towards the shoulder. And then bring the knee back towards the midline. Lower the knee to about hip height or hip level. And you're going to cross the leg over to the left. Good. Coming back towards the center line. Bring both knees into your chest. And then keep the left knee into the chest. Extend the right leg to the end of your mat and pull that knee towards your chin or towards your chest. And then avoiding that rib cage, roll around it, right? And let it just hang, and then pull it up again. And I'm talking about your knee. Knee up towards your armpit or your shoulder. Make sure your head is on straight. Flex your right foot. And then bring that leg back towards the midline and then lower the knee to about hip level. Take your right hand on your left knee. Open up your left hand and then twist. Find a twist and breathe. And then come back up towards the midline. Take a breath here, yogis. And then move your legs like little levers. And then lift your legs up and just shake them out. Lower your feet down, yogis, and come into Supta Baddha Konasana, pressing your lower back into the ground. And just take a moment here. And then prepare yourself for your Shavasana, yogis. Extending legs out towards the ends of your mat, or you could stay with your knees bent, whatever it is that you need. Inhale here. Exhale, let go. Inhale here. Exhale, let go. Inhale here. Exhale, let go. Let yourself go into that space, yogis, that all is safe and all is good. And that we realize one day that the divisiveness is really the illusion. And so take a couple of moments here, yogis, and let yourself go. So, yogis, if you need to wake up with me, please do so. If you want, you could stay in this Shavasana for as long as you need to, yogis. But if you're staying, make sure that when you wake up, you do so with mindfulness and that you're careful when you wake up, right? Slowly. But if you're waking up with me, yogis, find some gentle movements. Maybe rolling to the side, maybe not. Just when you're done waking yourself up, just find a seat, a comfortable seat for you. And place your hands at your heart center, yogis. Yogis, karma yoga demands us to act and to act appropriately, not to act out of selfishness or an ideology that doesn't make any sense. Karma yoga demands of us to act within the frame for the common good, for everyone's rights, for everyone's goodness, for everyone, for humanity, for our world. So notice if you're being selfish or selfless in your actions. Read the Gita. Read some Margaret Mead. But yogis, enlighten yourself and understand that your conflict is, we're not alone in the conflict, the mental anguish, these mental disturbances. This has been happening for centuries, but finally, can we get it right? And we have a perfect opportunity to do so. May God be with you and bless you all. Satnam and Namaste.